Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. Hi, I'm Kerry and I'm a Disney adult. Now in the last video I did, we looked through all the different Disney tropes, the things that make a film feel quintessentially Disney. And in this video, we are going to go darker and look into the Disney villain. Now, what makes a Disney villain particularly evil, and ultimately, which one of them is the worst? And for that, we are going to be doing a tier list. So without further ado, who is the most evil Disney villain? Now, for this, as always, I've got a nice little explanation of the different tiers for you, as assisted with ChatGPT. Got to give her a shout out. I've decided she's a girl. As she helps me so much. She's like my personal assistant, and it's absolutely great in helping me with these videos. So, decided on 5 tiers this time. We're not going to have the E tier, it just makes it a little too complicated. We're going to have S tier down to D tier, and as you can see on the screen, the S tier is related to the ones that are pure evil of the Disney villains. So in this, we decided to, me and AI, decided to create like a weighted point system for this. Now, we gave 5 points to the things that we consider to be ultimately evil. So therefore, cold-blooded murder, attempted murder with real intent, mass destruction or genocide, torture and cruelty, and ultimate power grab. And then 4 points went to things that the villains did that we considered to be dangerous and ruthless, but not like ultimate evil. It would be manipulation and mind control, imprisonment and kidnapping, attempted child murder, and betrayal of family and allies. I also later added into this supernatural threat. So we've got a couple in here: Chernobog from Fantasia, and the Headless Horseman, because their entire modus operandi is that they are supernatural figures, and is their supernatural dead. I suppose Hades could be added into that one too, but he has a bit more specific villainy. Obviously, being a god, he is more kind of supernatural villain, but ultimately he is humanesque. So whereas Chernobog and the Headless Horseman aren't, they are just actual spirits and demons. So they've been given the mid-level villainy there, or even the high-level villainy, sorry. Mid-level villainy is the 3 points, which are definitely evil but not purely sadistic. Coming under those categories are threatening someone's life, blackmail and coercion, corruption and greed, and sabotage and deception. Then for 2 points we have low-level villainy, which are petty but still wicked. Sorry if you can get out of a sheet. And that is bullying and psychological abuse, petty crime and theft, minor physical harm, and cowardice and betrayal. And then finally we just have things that are harmless but villainous for 1 point, which are mostly ineffective or comedic, so therefore throwing tantrums or being childish, unsuccessful villainy, and comedy over threat. Now, putting these all in created an overall score. Any villain that had 45 points or more goes into the S tier. So they are considered pure evil. The A tier is any villain that is 35 to 44 points, which is dangerous and deadly. B tier is 25 to 34 points, strong but flawed villainy. C tier, 15 to 24 points, petty or power hungry. And then finally D tier, which is mostly harmless, 0 to 14 points. So, without further ado, let's see who ranks where. Okay, now in the description of this video will be a link to the PDF of the Matrix of Evil, as I created with the assistance of ChatGPT, obviously, as I just said, for the different categories. If you look on there, it will explain how I marked this. There are things that I'm going to forget. I am human. Okay, ChatGPT is not. But I didn't go... I mean, there were some of them I went to ChatGPT for because I hadn't seen the film enough, or I couldn't quite remember all the different things they did. For example, Sykes from Oliver, who is down here. Oliver and Company. I don't really remember the film too much for him. I also don't really remember the Black Cauldron, so some of the things that the Horned King did, I had to sort of remind myself. And so the ones I have seen more often, there are still things I'm going to forget. So by all means, please comment underneath if I've forgotten things. Let me know if you disagree with the weightings. Anything really, just let me know what you think. Anyway, so without further ado, we go first in, obviously, to the Evil Queen from Snow White. And just a few little things she did here. Her general obsession with being the fairest of them all, and by that she plots to murder Snow White out of jealousy. I mean, that's a pretty harsh thing to do. She orders the huntsman to kill Snow White and then to bring back her heart, which is pretty damn nasty for the huntsman. Bad enough to have to kill someone, to have to cut out the poor girl's heart is quite another. And then obviously she poisons Snow White with a deadly apple, but obviously everybody knows at the end it turns out to not be deadly. So if you look at the Matrix of Evil, it will show you that I gave her 16 points. Now, listing them like that, the things she did, it comes out as truly horrific. But when you compare them to specifically the much later villains, the ones that from sort of the 1980s onward, she's nowhere near as evil as some of those. And for that, 16 points puts her in at the C tier. So there she goes. Why? Canva, stop doing that to me. Okay, the next one we have is Stromboli from Pinocchio. He kidnaps Pinocchio and then forces him to perform as a puppet. And then he plans at the end to lock Pinocchio in a cage forever and use him until he's no longer useful, and will turn him into firewood. Compared to some of the things, it's awful, but it's not the most horrific thing. So once again, he got 17 points, much like the Evil Queen, and is going into the C tier. As you can see, I'm trying to get this video all done in one video. If I don't, then obviously it will be split over two, but we shall see where we go. Okay, the next one is the Coachman from Pinocchio. Now, if you guys have seen my ranking of the Disney films tier list from 1930 and 1940, you will see that I go into a fair amount of depth with the Coachman because I think he's freaking awful. But breaking it down compared to some of the other ones, he's awful, but there are worse. So, first of all, lures young boys to Pleasure Island. I mean, that alone should be putting him right at the S tier, but still, let's follow on from this. Where they are transformed into donkeys and sold into slavery. Pure freaking evil as far as I'm concerned. And then the worst thing is he never gets punished for his crimes that we know of, which makes him less creepy. Now, one of my lovely viewers and commenters did point out in the comments underneath the 1930s, 1940s villain, is that these earlier villains were considered more like sort of the boogeyman type thing. And this guy definitely is. It's the if you don't behave yourself, the Coachman's going to get you and turn you into a donkey for the rest of your life, which is, yeah, kind of terrifying. And from that perspective, yeah, I can see how him not getting his comeuppance makes a lot of sense. However, he is not the most evil of them all, but I considered him to be worse than Stromboli or the Evil Queen. He amassed 26 points, which puts him into the B tier. On to Chernabog. Now, the thing with Chernabog is he is obviously a literal demon from Bald Mountain who raises the dead and controls dark forces. And he enjoys tormenting lost souls and revels in chaos. But that is his thing. He is a supernatural creature. Now, earlier on I said about Hades being a god, and actually I believe Chernabog is supposed to be a god as well. If you've seen American Gods or read American Gods, the character is in that. Not quite like this. He's not like a giant bat creature. He just looks like a person. But he is therefore kind of a god of death type thing, a bit like Hades. And so for that, he doesn't really get that many points, which put him in to the D tier with 11 points. So as much as he is pure evil, you know, well, arguably pure evil, that is because he is a demon and that is his entire thing. So he's not doing this out of pure malice, greed, jealousy, anything like that, or control. He's doing it because that is his entire point of existence. So that is why he is in the D tier. The next one along is the Ringmaster from Dumbo. Now, the funny thing is I never really considered him a villain until doing this list. But thinking about it, yeah, he really is. I mean, he forces Dumbo's mother into captivity after she tries to protect Dumbo, and then exploits Dumbo's big ears for profit and humiliates him. So he is the villain. I mean, arguably, the other elephants should be just as big villains as he is. So I think we're going to put them all into the same thing here. And for that, they amass 19 points and are in at the C tier. I can't get these lined up and it's really bugging me. Anyway, Headless Horseman. As I said, very much from the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. As I said before, very much like Chernabog, in the sense that his pure thing is going around and killing people and taking their heads to try and replace his own. That's his whole thing. It's the legend of Sleepy Hollow. And obviously he is a ghostly figure who terrorises travellers and possibly kills Ichabod Crane. I think we could just kind of have to assume that he did kill Ichabod Crane. However, that's pretty much all he does. He scares people and kills Ichabod Crane, maybe other people. We don't see that in the film, so we can't just assume. It's the same with the difference between Lady Tremaine and the Evil Queen. It is implied that she abuses and neglects Snow White, but we don't see it in the film, and therefore we have to go with what we see in the film. And from that, we only see him potentially kill Ichabod Crane. So he is another one that is going in at the D tier, and he has only got 7 points, which I think is fair. Okay, on to Lady Tremaine, as I mentioned earlier, who obviously is Cinderella. She emotionally abuses Cinderella and forces her into servitude after her father dies, sabotages Cinderella's chance to go to the ball, and then traps Cinderella in her room to stop her from trying on the glass slipper and sorting her life out. That is worse than what the Evil Queen does. Sorry, it was. This woman's freaking horrible. And for that, she got 30 points and is going in at the B tier. Next up is the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland. She rules Wonderland with fear and orders executions constantly. Wants to behead Alice for no real reason and is easily manipulated and irrational, but still dangerous. So, as you'll be able to see from the Matrix of Evil, she got a point for being childish and throwing tantrums because she does. However, it doesn't make her truly horrific. She's more of a kind of tantruming, bratty child. She got 15 points, which put her in at the C tier. Next, we have Captain Hook. Famously from Peter Pan, we know him well. He is a pirate obsessed with revenge against Peter Pan, who in a fight got him chucked in with the crocodile and got his hand bitten off. And that's why he wears the hook. I mean, I can get pretty good reason to hate the kid, to be fair. He tries to kill Peter Pan and the Lost Boys multiple times and blows up his own crew. Sorry, not his own crew. Does he blow up his own crew? Yeah, I suppose he does. To get what he wants. This gave him 30 points and put him in at the B tier. Not truly evil villain, has reasoning, and he is a pirate, is kind of his thing. Next on to the Queen, that is Maleficent. Love her. She makes herself always just look so amazing all the time. Despite being evil, she has this classic beauty in her face, and for some reason, I love her whole image thing. I love the way I'm doing a hand gesture and you can't see. Oh, by the way, I know usually on tier lists, there's a little me over in the corner here. But as you can probably hear from my voice and the fact I didn't upload on Thursday, sorry about that, I have got a cold. I'm quite under the weather. And honestly with you, I've had to do 2 12-hour shifts in the last few days. Right, and I'm wearing makeup for the whole shift. It's been very, very tiring. And quite frankly, I didn't feel like doing a full face of makeup and hair to do the video. You don't need me on the screen for this one, so I figured I'll just do voiceover instead. So that's, if you're wondering where is Kerry, I'm here. I'm just a voice. I'm a disembodied voice basically, because as I said, I've got a cold. Don't really feel like doing the whole getting dolled up, gussied up, as it says in Sims 2, which I've been playing. Okay, so Maleficent curses Aurora as a baby just because she was invited to a party. Every time it's just like, God, the amount of people I could have killed when I was younger. For that reason. Turns into a dragon to destroy Prince Philip and commands an army of goblin-like minions. For this, she amounted 26 points and again goes in at the B tier. Next, we have Cruella de Vil. She wants to skin 99 puppies to make a fur coat. Oh my God! Puppies, man, they're like the cutest, most wonderful little things ever. And also she kidnaps and abuses animals with no remorse. She's basically just greedy and horrible, and she actually managed to get the exact same points as Maleficent, 26, which of course puts her in at the B tier. So there she goes. The next one is Madame Mim from Sword in the Stone. The thing with Madame Mim is actually ChatGPT forgot to put her in initially, but I thought, well, she is a villain. She's the villain in Sword in the Stone, so I do believe she's got to go in there. So she actively tries to kill young Arthur in their wizard duel. In the duel that she has with Merlin. She mocks Arthur's weaknesses, trying to make him doubt Merlin's teachings. she completely loses because Merlin outsmarts her. So that's why she got a couple of the kind of non-threat points, I believe. And she is more silly than terrifying. She's laughing maniacally at her own chaos. So she's not a huge threat. And she got a 12, which puts her in at the D tier. These are not lining up and I'm not here for it. Okay, so next we have Shere Khan. Now, as I've mentioned before, I kind of have some sympathy for Shere Khan. He's had terrible associations with what's the word I'm looking for? Not associations. Terrible interactions with humans that are always trying to kill him. And understandably, he hates Mowgli because he's a human. He's going to grow up and try and kill him. So he wants to kill Mowgli before he kills him. It is kind of self-preservation, really. I mean, to be fair, he does threaten and bully other animals in the jungle. I get that. But again, he is a tiger. They tend to be kind of lone wolves, really. That's the thing I find really strange. Why do we say lone wolf when it tends to be tigers that are more on their own? But okay. So that does make him a little bit nastier. But again, I didn't consider him to be pure evil. He had good motivations for why he does what he does. And for that, he got 12 points and is in the D tier. Ooh, that is bugging me. Okay, and then also in the same film, and he's only a minor villain, but I wanted to put him in because he does try to kill Mowgli, was Kaa, the snake. His main thing is that he hypnotises and tries to kill Mowgli twice. Now, for that alone, he actively tries to kill Mowgli in the film on 2 occasions, which to me, in the thing of what we see in the film, he actually was slightly more evil. He had 3 points there. I think possibly he had a few more points for being comedic and kind of failing in his task, but he got 15. So only a couple more, it was 3 more than Shere Khan did, but it did just about put him into the C tier. So there we go. Next one is Edgar Balthazar. I didn't actually know his surname was Balthazar until I did this. I just know him as Edgar. But he kidnaps and abandons Duchess and her kittens just to keep his inheritance. Again, I kind of see his point, but again, we got this whole thing that humans have that they're more important than animals, and it's just like, no, mate. We don't realise this. You would have been looked after too, but your greed got in the way of that. And then he tries to get rid of them permanently when they return. However, he does not try and kill them. He tries to send them to Timbuktu. What? He got 12, just like Shere Khan, which put him in the D tier. So we are halfway through this, with 15 down and another 15 to go. So, where will these remaining ones go? As I said earlier on, the later we go, the darker they get, and the nastier they become, and the more evil they become. But our next film, we, just like Jungle Book, have 2 bad guys. And both of them are genuine villains. They're not like a minor villain like Kaa. They are genuine villains. And our first one is Prince John. Now, he is a tax-hungry tyrant who ruins the lives of the poor for no reason other than his own greed and his own need for power, and throws people into prison for not paying taxes, which is pretty much all of them, as he makes the taxes so high people can't even feed themselves. So, and he literally sits around on bags of gold. He also, you know, was a traitor to his family because he tricked his brother into going off to fight the Crusades and therefore putting himself on the throne. So for that, he got 29 points and puts him in at the B tier. From the same film, kind of the same thing, the Sheriff of Nottingham, he enforces Prince John's cruel taxes and steals from the poor. So a massive sycophant, doesn't question anything, just does what he's told to do by the person who is above him. He also takes money from a sick elderly man in one of the film's most heartbreaking moments. Otto, when he's got his bad leg, he still goes and takes it and bashes on the end of his cast, hurting his broken leg just to get 1 freaking coin out for this guy who has so many coins. I think Prince John and the Sheriff of Nottingham, especially in the way the world seems to be at the moment, with the rich getting greedier and greedier and taking more and more, and us all being put into a cost of living crisis, I think we can highly relate to Robin Hood at the moment and the bad guys in Robin Hood and what Robin Hood is trying to do. So that puts the Sheriff of Nottingham with 17 points. He wasn't quite as bad, but he was pretty bad. So it put him a few below into the C tier with 17 points. Madame Medusa from The Rescuers. If you recall, I really don't like The Rescuers Down Under. So, she kidnaps a little girl, Penny, and forces her into a dangerous mine, and then leaves her there to die. She also uses her crocodiles as her henchmen to threaten others, but, you know, gets her comeuppance at the end because they try and kill her. So, Madame Medusa, she didn't actively try and kill anybody. It was only based on her pure greed. She kidnapped a child, which was awful, but compared to some of the other deeds that are coming up, only gave her 19 points, putting her into the C tier. Now, the next one reaches whole new levels, and this is where the whole list starts to go very, very dark. The Horned King from the Black Cauldron, which, for any of you that are sort of around my age, does anyone look at the Horned King? You know, you can see it on the main image when you go back, or the thumbnail for this video. Just reminds you of Skeletor from He-Man, because every time I look at him, I think Skeletor. And then I think that whole video of them doing What's Going On by the Four Non-Blondes, so, you know, makes me laugh a little bit. This guy wants to unleash an undead army to rule the world, and he sacrifices his own henchmen to test the Black Cauldron's power. He is cruel, he is evil, he is unloyal to those who are being loyal to him. He basically just wants to kill everybody in the world for no logical reason other than his own power. And he will do it. He is constantly, you know, trying to kill Taran. He kidnaps Princess Alongwy and the minstrel guy, whose name I never remember, Flum Thumb, or whatever his name is, kidnaps them and keeps them below. The thing is freaking tortures Henrig. Is that Henrig? Is that his name? The pig. To try and get him to give him visions of how to get the Black Cauldron. The guy is pure, unadulterated evil, which gives him 51 points. And he is our first in at the S tier. He's freaking awful. So, our next one is Professor Ratigan from The Great Mouse Detective. He wants to overthrow the Queen of England, at least the mouse version of the Queen of England, and at one point murders one of his own henchmen for calling him a rat. He literally, the guys who are with him and looking at, you know, doing his bidding and very, very loyal to him, he feeds to his cat. Horrible. And for that, he got 40, also kidnaps, what was his name? Mr. Faversham. I can't remember his first name, but Faversham, basically, to try and build this remote control queen. I am talking, dog. Shh. And for that, Ratigan got 40 points and goes into the A tier, our first one in at the A tier. Next along, we have another really nasty character, which is Sykes. Now, he is a loan shark and crime boss who kidnaps the little girl for ransom. He does some truly horrific things. He completely abandons Fagin, who's so loyal to him, tries to kill the cats and dogs in the film by running them over with his car, kidnaps Penny. The guy is pretty freaking evil. He tries to kill various people, which gave him 36 points and puts him in at the A tier. You see already how the last three have gone into the top two tiers. This is what we're dealing with. Okay, so our next one is Ursula from The Great Little Mermaid. She tricks Ariel into making a dangerous deal. Basically, Ariel is not going to win. She steals Ariel's voice and tries to take over the ocean, and she grows into a giant sea monster to kill Ariel and Eric. She has tricked so many merfolk and turned them into these horrible little wormy creature things that can never do anything. They literally just sit there for no reason other than she's freaking horrible. She's very much like who is it that was in there earlier that I was saying about, who turns people, oh yeah, a bit like the coachman who turns them into donkeys. He does the same thing. At least with the donkeys he can utilize them. She just leaves them there to kind of rot. And for that, she got 37 points, putting her in at the A tier. Our next is Gaston. Now, stick with me on this. He is a narcissist, a sociopath, and maybe even a psychopath. I'd say sociopath. He's been raised to think he's wonderful, and he is a massive narcissist. And for that psychological reason, he has his motivations for what he does. He wants to be the best. He gets jealous. He goes after the beast, although he does try to kill the beast. So he definitely has attempted murder under his belt there. He kidnaps Maurice. He tries to trick Belle into marrying him, and he's generally managed to get the whole town against the beast and try and kill him and Belle. And for that, he got 20 points. So most of that was the attempted murder of the beast. And that puts him in at the C tier. The next one is Jafar. Again, we go pretty freaking evil with some of the stuff he does. He hypnotises the Sultan to control Agrabah all the time. He turns into a giant snake and an all-powerful genie, which obviously becomes his undoing. And he traps Jasmine in an hourglass and mocks her suffering. So basically, he tries to kill Jasmine. He tries to kill Aladdin. He essentially tries to kill the Sultan, I think, with him too. He controls the Sultan. He also tries to trick Jasmine into marrying him. There are so many things that he does, and for that he got 34 points, which puts him in at the B tier. So he was only ever so slightly 1 point off the A tier. It's probably good arguments if you look at the matrix of evil that is attached in the description. You will see that there's probably something else that I could have given him, marked against him, that could put him into the A tier. But me being me, I didn't quite see it. So, Scar. Ooh, Scar. Scar is a nasty one. A really nasty one. He literally murders his own brother. So he actually commits murder. Okay, so he doesn't physically kill him. He throws him into the stampede. But he does it with the intention of knowing that it will kill him. So he murders his own brother. He also tricks his nephew into thinking that it was his fault. His little child nephew, who is grieving his father, making him feel like he is the one who killed his father, that he was responsible for it. And then sends the hyenas to go kill said little nephew. He also takes over the Pride Land and in the process lets everything fall apart due to his own greed and his own need for power. He got 47 points, which puts him in at the S tier. He's awful. Okay, on to the final 5 now. Governor Ratcliffe from Pocahontas. He colonises and destroys the native land, at least attempts to. So the mere fact that he is a coloniser in itself should put him in at the S tier, because it is one of the most horrific and awful crimes I feel you can commit. He shoots Pocahontas' father. He encourages Thomas to shoot and kill Kokomo. Kokomo? Kamuna Jamaica. Sorry. Kocoum. Got a little bit Beach Boys there. Yeah, so Kocoum dies because of him. I'm pretty conscious at some point, tries to kill Pocahontas as well. And he's just a nasty, greedy, power-hungry, attempted murderer. And for that, he got 39 points and has gone in at the A tier. Claude Frollo, who is just known as Frollo in the film, but I know it's Claude Frollo from a bingo game I used to play. Hunchback of Notre Dame. Literally, what can we say about this guy? He is the pure epitome of evil. For a human perspective, we have Hades coming up, but he's a god, so he doesn't really, we can kind of give him a little bit of a leeway on his evilness. So he tries to kill a baby, Quasimodo, at the start of the film. He burns down Paris in an attempt to kill basically all the gypsies. It's a genocide attempt. And he is obsessed with Esmeralda and tries to control her life. He also kills Quasimodo's mum at the beginning of the film. He is bullying and evil to Quasimodo, and he is supposed to be the person who is looking after him, but he basically just uses him and is horrifically awful against him. He's just horrendous. And with 53 points more than the Horned King, puts him in at our highest rated S tier so far. On to Hades. From Hercules, obviously. He plots to overthrow Zeus and take over Mount Olympus. He tries to kill baby Hercules. He relishes in emotionally torturing Megara and Hercules and Pain and Panic. And again, he is an evil, evil god who is trying to essentially take over the world by taking over Mount Olympus. The fact that he tries to kill baby Hercules, or at least sends Pain and Panic to do it for him, gives him, I think, the reason why... Okay, he actually got 55 points, and the reason for being is the comedic side of the character. So he got a few comedic points there, but ultimately, I would say he's not as evil as Claude Frollo, like deeply evil. It's kind of more built into him as the character, as the god that he is of the underworld. He's going to become a little bit like that. However, 55 points, putting him in at the S tier. Down to the last 2, we have got Shan Yu from Mulan. He invades China and destroys entire villages. He is trying to invade the whole of China. He tries to behead the Emperor of China. He tries to kill Mulan. He clearly he has ordered the massacre of a village. There is an indication that children have obviously died in that village too. So he's been responsible for the deaths of adults and children, which gives him 39 points and puts him in at the A tier. And then finally, we have Clayton from Tarzan. He is the last one of the 20th century villains. He plans to capture and sell gorillas for profit. Which is horrendous in itself. He shoots Kerchak, or as I like to call him, Kochek, and fights Tarzan to the death. So he kills Kerchak. He does kill a character. He again fights Tarzan to the death. He betrays his allies in Jane and her father, whose name escapes me at the moment. But, you know, he was there to protect them, and ultimately he just went in with his own agenda. He didn't quite make it into the A tier. He got 34 points, which took him into the B tier. So, what did you think of my Matrix of Evil and the tier list? Do you agree with where I've put people? Have I missed any really, really vital things out? Is there anything that some of these villains do that should be a little bit more justified and we should take a little bit lighter than we did? Please let me know in the comments. I would love, love, love to know what you think. I would love to know if you would put any of them higher or lower. That's just so interesting to find out because, you know, I'm not flawless with my Disney knowledge. I have a lot of Disney knowledge, but it's not completely flawless. I do miss things out. So let me know what you think in the comments. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.